that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter before sweet and sweet before bitter. Ephesians. Ephesians 6:12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And Hebrews 18:9.
Acts 8:9.
Acts
That's
8
it?
and 9.
What does it say, Acts? I need glasses. But there was a certain man called Simon, who previously in the same city used sorcery and bewitched the people of Samaria, giving out that himself was some great one.
I'm sorry, I didn't tell you. Just read a few verses down. I'm sorry. I should have said so.
To whom, from the least to the greatest, saying, this man is the great power of God. And to him they had regard, because for a long time he had bewitched them with sorceries. But when they believed Philip preaching the things concerning the kingdom of Elohim and the name of Yahshua Messiah, they were baptized, both men and women. Is that enough?
Yeah, we're going to explain that a little bit later. Is that the last scripture I had to read?
Yep.
Okay. All right. And I'm going to open this lecture with just stating that I think I did a very similar lecture, very close to this, about a month ago. And I got really kind of short for time. We had to leave very early that day in the meeting, another meeting. So I'm going to, for the most part, cover some of the same information, and then there's some additional things now that I have more time I'm going to be adding. Today, I want to talk about this whole principle with the Illuminati and the power of their sorcery to bewitch the world. I want to call it, give it a topic. That's the closest that I would say. Now, what I'd like to do first is someone get a dictionary and get me the definition of sorcery. And also in the book of Revelations, I can't remember if it's the 18th, 19th, or 20th chapter, but it says the whole world has been bewitched by the sorceries of Mystery Babylon. Now, as you know, we have been, the Plym School here in Chicago, we have been regularly, every year, we go through a cycle of topics. And this is the time of the year when we talk about the mystery of iniquity and the mystery of righteousness. Yahweh has two mysteries, just like you have to have what? To have light, you have to have what? You have to have a positive pole and what? Negative pole. Well, you will not get light. You get rid of one or the other, we will not have what we call light or electricity, etc. So the point being is Yahweh is the master, and he is the one who is controlling both sides of the fence. Do not misunderstand. The devil does not, or Satan, or the dark side, or the dark force, or the mystery of unrighteousness, it appears as an illusion, as if he is operating willy-nilly on his own.
Right.
Like this chain, you know, like a dog.
Yep.
You can give a dog a long rope, right?
Mm-hmm.
He can go for, if you have a huge yard, 20-foot yard, if you have a long enough leash on it. But that's all the far he can go. You understand what I'm saying?
That's right.
So according to the divine purpose of Yahweh, if you look at it that way, the mystery of unrighteousness, or Satan and his demons, or the ministry of evil, it has a rope, a fairly long rope. But there's an end to that. There's an end, there are limits to his power.
Right.
Now, this was manifested, we always say that the vision that our founder, Dr. Henry Clifford Kinley, who had a divine vision June 6, 1931. He founded an organization called IDMR. Many of you know Clem, we are an offshoot of that organization. Now, his vision is just as valid today as it was then. Because without the vision, his vision, when he saw everything you see illustrated on this chart, and we don't have all the charts up to date, but everything he saw in a panoramic view, he saw beyond what John the Revelator saw.
That's right.
Encompasses Moses' vision. And he was, so to speak, as the founder often used those terms, he said, this vision So that's our mission. Since the founder had this vision, we have to take it and bring it what? Up to date. Okay, so now, I'm saying all that to say, a real simple thing he used to say all the time. Everything you need to know about the purpose of Yahweh is on these charts. These simple charts. Why? Because they are not charts like you think of somebody just willy-nilly made a drawing. Okay? This was from, do you understand, from a divine vision. So he used the charts, and we still do to this day. We also add other things because we have more technology now. So we can enhance it and include the modern technology and show you through the world of the internet that most of this information we're telling you, we don't even have to tell you. It's already on the web for those who seek and those who can rightly divide the lie from the truth. So to make a long story short, it's as simple as, say, we go through this, you might say, why do we keep going through this migratory track? And we don't stick on it, but we show you that the principle for everything you're looking at, even up to date, the two mysteries are shown right here on this chart. These people down here in the land of Egypt, we had what? The Israelites, who came down here as a result of what? I don't want to back there too far, but how they even got down here is there was a famine in the land, and so they flee from Canaan into Egypt. Okay, then they developed a history down here. For a while, they had a pharaoh that had favor with them because of the progenitor Joseph. Okay, I'm cutting up the story. But then it says that after a while, he died out, and then what? Rose up another pharaoh. He didn't know Joseph. He didn't know nobody. As far as your Israelites or your Hebrews said, like we said, who are you? I'm sorry. Okay. So now he put them in evil case, but at first they didn't even realize it. They were in literal bondage. You know, they had to make a certain amount of straw and produce and build. What they were doing is really supporting or building Pharaoh's, what we call treasure cities of Pharaoh's empire. Now, this was a wicked system. Okay, the Egyptians enslaved these people. They had, if you look at the system now, you got to go behind the scenes. They were actually ruled by a wicked, evil priesthood. The key you got to understand, there's always a front. So same with this wicked Babylonian system today. The same with the elite that rule the world, which we call the Illuminati. Okay, they have other names for themselves. They call themselves the Olympians. Or Olympians, like the god, the Greek god, what? Olympus? All the gods dwelt on Mount Olympus and what? Reigned over everybody. Controlled everybody. But anyway, not get off my point. It was the priesthood behind the scenes that made or broke the kings down here. And those priests practiced witchcraft and sorcery. Now, how do we know that? Because the Bible tells us what did Moses have to come down here and do? You know, after we're kind of moving the story back and forth because I don't want to spend a lot of time on a little story. Just want to draw out the principles. So they had to see they were in heavy evil case. Eventually they saw, you know what? This Pharaoh is wicked. He's put the screws on us. He's taken away the means of our livelihood. You know, increasing the quota of bricks, et cetera, and, you know, without the ability to get straw. Now, is that very common and very simple to what everybody of us experience today? Only in the modern world, it's not bricks we got to make, but we have to serve this empire of mammon and greed. They're taking away your pension. They're taking away your mortgage, your Social Security, your right to even your literal constitutional rights. And so, I mean, people's livelihood is being just taken out from underneath. Now, if that's not a wicked system, same thing down here. But the point, jumping around here, not jumping around too much, excuse me, but the point being is, so when Moses came down there, after Israel had overcome them by the power of the Lamb, right? They come out of Egypt. Now, they spent some 430 years down here. Israel is representing a righteous principle, and Egypt has to be devastated because these are representing the two mysteries. Israel and the people of Yahweh and Israel, which we know had also had to set aside land in Goshen, and the Egyptian system, this wicked, evil system, there's a part in which they came up kind of together, and Yahweh had to what? Separate it out. He had to make manifest the evil, the wickedness. Then you know, after all this time, you know, they were destroyed. You know, the Israelites came out. They were destroyed in the Red Sea. Pharaoh's host drowned. Then for a while, the Israelites went out here in peace in the wilderness and developed this worship of Yahweh in the tabernacle. But my point is, at a certain point in time, and I'm really fast forwarding the scripture. Moses out here just hanging out. He become a shepherd. He'd forgotten about Egypt, right? He was 80 years old by then. Now, you know he had killed a man down here in Egypt because his brother was being persecuted. But, you know, can you imagine? You mind your own business, you know, kind of having a good life. You know, all of a sudden, he saw something in a bush, a vision, and basically, to cut the story up, you know, Yahweh said, you know what, Moses? I'm sorry, brother, but
I got something for you to do.
We got something for you to do. I'm sorry you had pastoral life, you know, things have been kind of cool for you and everything, but you got to go down here, and I have commissioned you, and your brother Aaron is going to meet you. You have to come down and what? Expose this wicked system. I'm sorry if you didn't feel like, you know, Moses had all kinds of objections, cut the story up, but this is my point. But he said, look, surely I will be with you. And as I say all the time jokingly, he did not send Moses down there powerless.
Right.
Moses was not a crippled, amnesiac, Alzheimer's. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
How, that's my little silly saying. How are you going to stand before the beast head of that world at that time? And you come in on a cane.
Yeah.
So if Yahweh gives you the power, the real power Moses was given was what? By the Spirit within. But neither he can't manifest that outwardly either. It goes one. It's a unity. It's all a package thing. So they come down here, and the whole thing, they go tit for tat. Now this we will read. Let's get that in Exodus. They meet Pharaoh and his magicians, who practice. As a matter of fact, Egypt is a civilization that is one of the authors and progenitors of black magic. A lot of other black magic and sorcery is based on Egyptian writings, Egyptian books of the dead, etc. So these guys was good at it. Okay, we're not talking about slouches. We're talking about they believed in that power of the dark forces, and they mastered it and accumulated that power. But little do they know that Yahweh said, okay, you know what? These two, you're going to go tit for tat with Pharaoh. He's going to give a sign. You're going to give a sign. For a while, it's going to look like they're the same. For a while. Because for a while, when the Egyptians threw down a sign, Moses threw down a sign. The power of Yahweh. Egyptians threw down a sign. Moses threw down a sign. I told you that dogs only got a certain amount of rope on that leash. Then after that, guess what? All bets are off. As Yahweh say, it's on. Because then what? Moses' serpent, then what? Eventually what? Consumed or swallowed up Pharaoh's serpent. So now let's read the scripture, then we got to bring it up today.
Chapter 10.
7 and 8.
Just read, just for time's sake, just read where Moses and Aaron are confronting Pharaoh, and Moses cast down his rod. Start there. Now that rod is representing the power of Yahweh. Okay. That rod is representing the power and authority of Yahweh. So there's another little theme here I want to talk about. Could Moses have gone down to Egypt when he decided?
No.
Yahweh had to give him power. Do you understand what I'm saying? To confront the wicked system of that world at that time, you better have some power.
Definitely.
When Moses sent, he went because Yahweh sent, so you better make sure you sent. Not by Minister John or Minister Joseph. I said sent by Yahweh.
Yeah.
Second component, you better have some backup. You
Yeah.
better have Yahweh at your back, and you better have some power. Because that is what this beast recognizes power. These are people who practice the dark, sinister, heinous acts of witchcraft. Not the little old stuff like you see watered down on Saturday cartoons. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying all this for you to understand the elite of the world, the Illuminati of the world today. They're actually descendants of some of those same wicked people, and they sincerely, deeply, and with a fervence you don't understand, believe in the worship of Lucifer, and they practice the black arts. And now that we've come, we're over what 4,000 more years, more like 6,000. Excuse me. Years since that time, the craft has been honed. Okay, so what I'm saying is, as the Messiah told his apostles, wait till you what? Receive power from on high. You want to meddle with that beast? You better ask Yahweh, do you have some power? But of course, when he gives you power, like he gave Moses, the show is going to be over anyway. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And Moses and Aaron went in unto Pharaoh, and they did as Yahweh had commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh also called the wise men and sorcerers, now the magician of Egypt, and they also did in like with their enchantments.
Okay.
For they cast down every man his rod, and they became serpents. But Aaron's rod swallowed up their rods. And he hardened Pharaoh's heart, that he hearkened not unto them, as Yahweh had said. And Yahweh said unto Moses, Pharaoh's heart is hardened. He refuseth to let the people go. Get thee unto Pharaoh in the morning, when he goeth out unto the water, and thou shalt stand by the river's bank against he come. And the rod which he was turned into a serpent, thou shalt take in thine hand. Shalt thou take in thine hand.
That's all I need to know. So you see now, for a while it has appearance. Appearances can be deceived.
That's right.
Okay? However, they had to have, and so if you understand that, these wicked, evil spirits, both incarnated in men, in and out of bodies, and the greater deception is when the presence is invisible. And you can't really point to low here or low there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The same thing happened to Israel by exactly they came out here in the wilderness, and set up the tabernacle and the laws of Yahweh. I'm not going to have time to read it today, but in our element textbook it says that what then plagued or caused certain of these Israelitish tribes to die off in the wilderness and be disobedient. You want to find it? Okay, Don, fine. It said that the invisible presence of those satanic spirits, condemning the brethren, accuser of the brethren. When they confronted Pharaoh down here in Egypt, they had a literal enemy they could see, right? In the embodiment of the wicked Egyptian civilization by Pharaoh. Now, when Pharaoh and his host drowned in the Red Sea, the bodies died, the literal bodies died.
Right. Yeah.
But where did those spirits go?
Disembodied spirits. Yeah.
Disembodied. This is in our textbook, so maybe it's a good idea for you to go give Don a chance to find it. Disembodied spirits then is what plagued them.
Right.
But they didn't know. It's called that invisible influence.
That's right.
So now sometimes, we all have this. We're at home. Ain't nobody else around, and all of a sudden, all kind of crazy thoughts come to you. And you're like, what does that have to do with me? I might just be scrambling some eggs.
Yeah.
Where does this crazy stuff come from in my consciousness? Okay? But the difference is this. You got power. Now, since the Holy Spirit has been poured out, you have a power within you to dispel those thoughts and not let them take up hold or residence in your consciousness. You understand what I'm saying? That's the difference. Those who don't have or understand that power of Yahshua within them, that's why they're often overcome by all these different thoughts projected or appear in their consciousness. So when he gets that, so the other thing, so let's take that down to what's happened with the Illuminati. The elite of this world, called the Illuminati, which means illumined or enlightened ones. As I said before, they believe they were enlightened by the god Lucifer, not the god Yahweh. They worship him as a light-bearing angel who he brings the light, or he brings all knowledge and illumination. Okay, and they don't believe in what we call Satan, S-A-T-A-N, because that would mean Lucifer fell and became a fallen angel. They think he got kind of a bad rap. He's been dissed. You understand? And that the true power is the power of Lucifer. And we're going to read some of this from their own doctrine in this the book that Lee's been sharing with you in a moment. But I want to set the stage so you understand. So what happens is, so down through history, the same things happen with Illuminati. Down through the history of the world, at one time, you could pick out these elite families and dynasties that rule the world in an embodiment, meaning, just as we pointed out, Pharaoh and his host. A lot of these elite families today are descendants of Nimrod, going all the way back to Nimrod, who we know built the Tower of Babylon in defiance of Yahweh, or created Babylon confusion. The Tower of Babylon is representing the true confusion, spiritually and psychologically, which is what the wicked one desires to do. But my point is, for a time, they appeared in terms of a literal physical families or dynasties you can point out. Then after a while, not that that's not true today to a certain part, but the greater influence is behind the scenes. You understand what I'm saying? So when you see politicians on the world stage, you see that they're corrupt.
Yep.
You see that they lied to you. You see that events were told about the BP oil spill, about the Federal Reserve System, about our money and how it's printed out of thin air. When you see those voices literally on TV in front of you, remember now, there's invisible power behind that. That's the more, that is the greater influence. Because that influence is pulling the strings of the puppets they put before you.
Yep.
Whatever puppet we want to talk about, okay? I'm just saying, that's the whole point. World leaders, heads of state, etc. So it's the same principle. So they have fronts. And so today, the modern presence of evil, or what we call Illuminati, has all kinds of front organizations that it hides behind.
Yep.
Fritz Springmeier, the author of this book, Bloodlines of the Illuminati, he said sometimes, I'm just showing you the book in case people want to get them, you can actually get this online now, okay? You can download it online. Bloodlines of the Illuminati by Fritz Springmeier. He said it's like peeling back the layers of an onion, okay?
Yep.
Another term for it is compartmentalization. That means
What
there's a small apex of power at the top. That would be like the invisible thrones behind the scenes. And so information at the highest levels is compartmentalized so that only that small apex knows the real inner evil machinations of whatever is being delegated down throughout this Babylonian wicked commercial system. You understand what I'm saying? So I think the CIA and FBI did the same thing.
Yep.
You work for those organizations.
NSA too.
You are compartmentalized. You may not. You work on something over here. You are not told any information or connection or enough to figure out a connection between X, Y, Z over here. So it's the same principle. The devil uses the same principle, if you want to say compartmentalization. So the most wicked rulers at the top of the pyramid, or that's controlling the show, they're going to be behind the scenes. So I told you there's always going to be a wicked, evil priesthood machinating, controlling this mystery of iniquity or unrighteousness behind the scenes, down all through history. So you can look at, just cutting up short, I don't even know where to start, but if you look at Queen Elizabeth, was it Queen Elizabeth I? She had a sorcerer behind her named John Dee.
Yep.
Okay, John Dee, he performed many functions for her. Okay, he was an astrologer, but sometimes they minimize him as an astrologer, but he's also a sorcerer with black arts. He helped set up espionage. He was actually called 007.
Yep.
So that's where the fictional, movie James Bond 007. That's where that came from. But these people were witches and sorcerers, and behind the scenes, they worked and did the machinations of the kings and queens. So if you get that system, then you understand it's the same thing. The Illuminati, these elite families of people. There's about John Copeland says there's about 300 families that rule the world. I think in this book, Worldwide Evil and Misery, it's about 500. We don't have any problem with the number. It's the same principle. Because it's a small apex.
That's it.
It don't matter. 300, 500, we got the point. Okay? So that's who's behind the scenes, like a priesthood. And they are a priesthood. And what I mean by that is the priesthood, let's flip it now over to the righteous side. Now, under the law, the priesthood that Yahweh gave to Israel, right? When he brought them out here in the wilderness, the priests were what? The lawyers. Because they interpret the bankers. They were the doctors. Etc. So now you see, the devil has taken that model, because he knows Adam. The Bible says he walked in the heavenly kingdom amongst the stones of Yahweh and was cast out of them. So why wouldn't he not understand that system of governance and then apply it down here to oppress us? It's been corrupted. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why the two mysteries come down. They look very much alike till you have that fine-eyed discernment that the Holy Spirit gives you. And you see, I'm not worried about that. This demonic forces in this world, this evil. It's on a short chain. It looks bad right now. It looks like the whole team is down. You know what I'm trying to say? Those of Bible says, he that endures to the end, what? So just like it looked down here, keep looking at analogies now. It looked down here that was kind of bad for the whole team when Moses and Aaron came down here to confront Pharaoh. But that has to be played out for Yahweh to show the power. He has to let the tares come up for a while together with the good fruit of the good plant. And say, you know what? Then when I divide them, because some sure enough power, it's going to be manifest. So if you haven't found that, let's get a definition of sorcery. In the meantime, we'll read it when it comes. So we'll get a dictionary definition of sorcery. And then you have the scripture where in Revelations where it says that the system of the whole world has been bewitched by the sorcery of mystery of Babylon. I can't remember if it's 18th, 19th, maybe 20th, 21st chapter. So I just want you to see when we talk about the rest of this information, you'll have a context or a model to understand that's why they are so elitist and cavalier. Talk about these wicked powers of this world. In the sense that they ain't even afraid to tell you in plain sight now what they're doing. Because they figure the whole team
You ain't gonna believe anyway.
What you gonna do?
right. They got that bold, pious attitude. What you gonna do anyway? Arrogance, thank you, correct word. Arrogance. So to preface all that, the clips I'm going to show a lot of clips today because once I lay a foundation, I won't have to say nothing. The clips will speak for themselves. You're going to see that in the movie industry, right within film, they tell you plain as day what they believe, how they operate, how they have no compassion for human life, how they seek to enslave you physically. They want your wealth, and to enslave you spiritually and psychologically, which is really the greater part. Once they get you spiritually and get your mind, there's no problem. Everything else goes. Any man that's ever tried to be a player, true confession, you don't have to raise your hand, but you have enough. Any man that's tried to be a player in his youth or whatever stage of life, all you got to do is get the woman's mind. You get the mind, what else? You got everything else. You got everything. Okay? So that means you got to weave a subtle web of what? Deception. And not make the control be quite so obvious. You don't lock up a closet controller.
Right.
No, that won't only last so long. That physical bondage, physical restraints has an end. But if you totally win over someone's consciousness, especially if you deceive them into believing you have the best interests at heart.
That's right. Yeah. This
You
man
love
is good for you.
You know, right, etc. All manner of deceit. And as the Bible says, you know, liar and is the father of lies and deceit. Then the rest is easy.
That's right.
So that whole game has been perpetrated on all of us.
That's right.
It has nothing to do with whether you're man or woman. This wicked system has perpetrated the same game, mind control. And sorcery is, when we talk about sorcery today, we're going to talk about literal sorcery in the sense of what you think of as witchcraft and bewitching people by that kind of literal sorcery. However, that's not even the greater part. The greater part is the sorcery is really a mechanism or a tool or an offshoot, or if you want to turn it over the voice explain, but sorcery is nothing more than a form of control. Okay? If you get someone to believe you have power, like we read there in Simon the Sorcerer, am I right? You might go back and read that in a minute. But the Bible said whatever that man did in that town, that community, they thought he was as a god. Because they saw signs of power. Even though that was power from the dark side. Limited power. However, that power had bewitched that whole town. He said, man, Simon, you know? You understand what I'm saying? Then he got a greater power.
Right.
But anyway, let's get back. I'm sorry. Let's get this in the textbook.
Yes, I got it.
Oh, okay.
I had like 3 different versions.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I had to find it.
Revelation 18:23.
Okay, read that first in Revelation. Just
Right,
read
you
it.
know.
Yeah.
And the light of the lamp shall shine no more at all in thee, and one voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy